You have been really doing a great job reading your books. I'm so happy to see that in your teachers too, that you've been reading, and I hope you're really enjoying those books. And when you tell your stories to your friends, you're reading the best that you can. They might be books that you remember, that you've read before, but that's how you get to be a better reader, is rereading things again. Remember, we use the pictures to help us tell the story. If we forget something, we look back. One other thing that we can do, friends, is as we go through the book and we're telling our story or reading our story in the best way we can to our friend, we're thinking about how each page of the story leads to the next page. And when an author tells a story, the pages connect. And when the pages connect, it makes a story from the beginning to the end, doesn't it? So I'm going to show you how when I'm reading a book, I think about the way the pages of the story connect to each other. So I thought maybe Where the Wild Things Are might be a fun book to see how the pages connect to each other. This is kind of a big book, so I'm going to scooch back a little bit so you can see it. So this is Where the Wild Things Are. Where does the story start? The story starts when Max was naughty in his house. And it looks like he was chasing the dog, wasn't he? I bet that's naughty. So then his mother said, "You wild thing." Max said, "I'll eat you up." And that's when she sent him to his room. Do you see how when he was chasing the dog and being wild, and then he talked back to his mother, that's when he got sent to the room? So we can see how things happen. And the next page, it's the next thing that happens. And those two things are connected because he was naughty. So that's how he got sent to his room. And then when he was in his room, the forest started to grow. So friends, do you see how that's connected? And once the forest grows, it grows some more. Do you know what's coming next? And then there's vines in the ceiling. And then he's going to sail away. And when he sails away, that's when he starts seeing those wild things, doesn't he? Then he goes to the place where the wild things are. This is when he's in his room. He's thinking that he's in this place with the wild things, isn't he? And then that's where he becomes king of the wild things and tells them to be still. There's he's king now. And they listen to him, don't they? And then the next page is where they do their crazy dance. They swing from the trees. They're having their wild rumpus. He's riding them around. Well, and then look, next, I think he's tired of that, right? And he's kind of wants to go back home, I think. He's getting hungry, maybe. And then he decides to leave. Boys and girls, do you see how that fits together? How he was being wild and crazy with the wild things. And then next, he wanted to go back home, and then he leaves. So our story, the pages are connecting, and one thing leads to the next, doesn't it? So while you're reading a story, think about what happened last and how that connects to the page that you're on, and think about what's happening next. I think he's going to eventually, is he going to get back to his room? Yeah, now he's back to his room. And his dinner is there waiting for him. And it's still hot. So boys and girls, as you read today, think about when you're telling your story to your friend and you're reading, think about how one page leads to the next, and that helps tell your story, right? We can see how the pages and the events of the story fit together from the beginning to the end. And then that helps us understand the story. And maybe you could even retell it to a friend, right? Okay, so thank you for listening so carefully. And I hope you so enjoy reading your books and seeing how your stories fit together today. Good job, readers.